What's up, everybody, and welcome to part 2 of the Millennials video. It's your girl, Tatiana. I just want to say thank you for all the support during the time in quarantine from our first 4 videos. Here we are, part 2 of Millennials. I hope you guys are keeping up and you continue to support and watch these videos as we continue to go forward. So yeah, let's get right to it.
I feel like us millennials are more concerned about money than the other generations, just because we're in between where we have to be on our own, be more independent. We have to have our shit together, and it's harder. It's hard because it's we're in the age where we're passing college, we have all those college loans, and it's we're barely working decent jobs that will sustain us, but and then these things kind of hold us back from moving out, being able to buy a house is really a setback when it comes, especially with loans. You always have to be aware that you still have to pay that money back, and it's hard to think about hey, I want to go buy a house, but I have to add that bill on top of the buying a house, a loan, and that's extra weight. We go to college to go try to get a career because you can't really survive as much or buy a house when you're just stuck with minimum wage. It's almost impossible. But those are things that set us back. We need to be able to be independent. We want to move out of our parents' house, and it's so hard. I've been looking at houses in New York. It's crazy expensive, 1 million for a house. How long do they expect us to and it's I know it's manageable, people do it, but it's hard. I went to school, I have loans, and I want to buy a house, and it's hard to think of that. We have to always we're always looking for a hustle to make money because it's ridiculous. Certain things, yes, minimum wage is going up, but so is everything else.
So the reason why I think that millennials are so burdened by money is because the cost of living is pretty expensive. Depending on where you live, mostly within the northern states, the cost of living is super expensive. I know New York City, 1-bedroom apartments be $1,600. Some parts of Connecticut, the cost of living is just expensive overall. So I think millennials are very burdened by money because they feel like they can't really find a very sufficient place that fits within their budget to live at. Especially since a lot of millennials are still trying to, get that dream job, be able to put themselves out there to, get the type of salary that they feel like they deserve, that they went to school for, and that they worked hard their whole life to get. So yeah, money's going to be a burden if you're not, making X amount of dollars per year, because then you can't live the lifestyle that you want to live. You're going to be stuck, in a 400 square foot, studio apartment that they'll pass off for a 1-bedroom. And then you're sitting here, cramped, and it's not a lot of wiggle room. So I think millennials just want to be able to have the space in a home that they could call their own without feeling like they're overpaying for something that basically isn't efficient enough for their needs. So I think millennials are just burdened by money because they just feel like the cost of living is not efficient for what the amount of money that they're shelling out for.
And to simply put it into layman's terms, it's the cost of living. The cost of living is kind of the biggest reason why, for us millennials, financial independence seems so difficult. But we all know that the main reason why is that the cost of living has skyrocketed in comparison to, basic wages and salaries, especially since healthcare wasn't so expensive, since higher education wasn't as expensive, they didn't have to pay as much in student loans, and even housing wasn't, that expensive back then either. So for us, it just seems a lot more difficult because, we were fed the belief that, we need to go and, get a 4-year college education in order to get a very good job. Look at the minimum wage. The minimum wage was initially created to, have a flat line, wage for people to be paid in order to afford simple things like housing, food, and, the things that they would need, like clothing and things like that. So when you look at the change between 1961 and 1981, a span of 20 years, the minimum wage increased 11 times. Now, when you look at 1990 to 2009, that wage only, span of just 1 year less, 19 years, the minimum wage only changed 7 times. So it kind of shows you how in the last 20, 30 years, there has been a real plateauing of, the rising of minimum wage, and that's federal. So that kind of explains why for us, it's a lot harder than, the generation before us.
I think the reason why millennials feel like money is such a burden is 2 words: student loans. I think student loans have just been the backbreaker for millennials. They tell us to go to school for 4 years, get that dream job, and you'll be able to live and do everything you always wanted to do. What they don't tell you is how expensive college really is, how much money you're going to be paying back at the end of your 4 years, and how long it's going to take you to actually pay that back. A lot of millennials are probably just making minimum payments on their student loans right now, so they're not even in a position to knock it out, pay like $500 or thousands of dollars each month. Like, they have to pay little by little just to even get to the point of where it's probably paid off. I have a lot of friends that are in hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt, and for them it's very nerve-wracking. I know for me personally, it's nerve-wracking having student loans because it's on your credit score, and it really does affect your credit score, and the amount of time it takes for you to try to pay that off, it's nerve-wracking for sure. Not being able to pay off your student loan debt is what's holding a lot of millennials back from owning houses and planning certain businesses and stuff. Not everybody, but for some of us, owing that much money and trying to pay it back on top of our everyday bills that we have, it's very overwhelming. So I think student loans is a very, very, very big issue with millennials as to why money is such a burden for us, because we're trying to pay back that money that we really won't even see, to be honest. Once you pay back Sally Mae, or you pay back those subsidized or unsubsidized loans, you don't see that money again. It's like paying, it's not the same as like paying a credit card and that money goes back to you, you can use it freely. Like, that money is gone. Like, once you pay back loans, that's it. It gets wiped off your credit score, but it's not really the same.
Why are we concerned with money? I feel like we're concerned with money because of what we see on TV. Even if you go all the way back to like watching Lifestyle of Rich and Famous, like, our parents really didn't watch television like that. Their grandparents, television was kind of like a thing of magic. Yeah. So it's like we were the first generation to kind of grow up on that fully, and televised networking, and watching those channels, watching those shows, showed us this life, this extravagant life of living, that it kind of installed in us, like, oh, we can do that if we work and do this X, Y, and Z. And we just became so concerned with living that lifestyle. So I don't think it's the money aspect so much that people are fascinated with, rather than the lifestyle of just having surplus of everything.
Look at our current role models. Like, they're flaunting cash, they're flaunting the lifestyle, they are also the same ones that are saying, oh yeah, you can do it too, but they really don't too much emphasize on the hard work aspect, because yet again, our generation, we were set up and geared in our minds that we're just as good or better than others, and you could just do it too when it's not all that simple, and the cost of living is high. Even food, certain foods you go to get, it's expensive. Like, healthier foods are more expensive than the junk that people eat. Like, it's ridiculous.
All right, guys. So thank you so much for tuning into part 2 of this millennial video. I really do appreciate it. Another video is going to be dropping again real soon. So please tune in, keep watching. Like, subscribe, follow me on my Instagram page at InTheRoots94. And please, share this with your friends, and let me know in the comments below what you'd like for me to talk about next. See you guys.